Alright, we're reviewing Krypton episode 1. Now, I was a little hesitant to get into this series. Still not sure if I'm going to go ahead and review the rest of it. It's a pilot episode, so I do have to give it I do have to watch at least 2 more episodes to give it a fair chance. And not that the pilot was bad. Uh, but the thing about a show like this is we've had similar things in such as Smallville and both Gotham. They promised to explore uh, a time in which comics didn't really necessarily covered, uh, as just largely an unexplored portion of history for these characters. Smallville did it, Gotham did it, but just like Smallville, Gotham too started to introduce things that we have covered, origins of characters that should not have been should not have came to light yet. There's a bunch of stuff in there. Like in Gotham, you have characters like the Riddler becoming Riddler. Uh, you have everybody calling Penguin Penguin. Um, Smallville, you have a lot of things going on. Bizarro before there's ever really a Superman. There are a bunch of things in both these series. And personally, Smallville did a lot of things justice. Gotham, to a lesser extent, did some things justice, and but it also did a lot of questionable things. For instance, having Jim Gordon name his daughter Barbara after the psychopath uh, girlfriend or wife that he has in the show, which I did not expect to come a full on psycho, but that's what happened. And how he ends up naming his daughter Barbara Gordon is beyond me after all the stuff she does. But with this show, we had a similar thing announced that it would be largely based in an unexplored portion of character history. It would be centered around Superman's grandfather before there was ever a Superman, and it would like really explore Krypton, and that to me is the largest appeal of it. That I'll explore Krypton as when they were a standing planet, a nation with government and citizens before they were a pile of stardust. But so I was interested to see how this would work. Would they do what the other shows did, introduce characters far before their time, just to kind of like appeal to the audience, or would they stay just like true to original content that they themselves have created? So we get into the show, and from the start, the grandfather of Sagal, that is Segel, which is pretty much our lead character. He's a child at this point. His father is pretty much shamed, banished, sentenced to death, and the L family name, is sort of just debunked, shunned. They're cast out to a lower ranking. They lose their family status, their sigil, um, and they have to live in this sort of poor area that's like beneath the rest of Krypton, the gallows. It's like a gallows type area. But and from the start, I mean, the attires of the Kryptonian, their outfits, the their infrastructures, the buildings, and it all looks pretty good, pretty interesting for their culture. Like that's what mostly I'm interested in exploring the Kryptonian culture and the way of life here. So after they get banished down, we see Segal much later in life. He's older. He's in his teens or early 20s. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not sure if that was mentioned or not, but he's sort of just become this gambler and this drunk, and he apparently he gets in bar fights and has a lot of trouble with the local police, I guess you'd call them. But He goes home and his family's not really excited about what he's been doing, gambling, and they make lower wages and stuff as they're now lower class citizens, and they're not really recognized by upper class citizens. Uh, it's very Game of Thrones like in that manner. But his father forgets his medicine, so he tries to rush up to his father, who works in like the higher council areas, the upper city, and this leads to him preventing somebody from bombing the sort of council, or Ra, I believe, as the leader of Krypton, as they said. But it leads to him thwarting this assassination attempt while some people are being judged as part of this. I think they call it Black Zero terrorist group. I'm not really sure, but the guy that banished his grandfather ends up having a discussion to him about him proving himself, earning like a name for himself, earning a title, and being considered upper class. Now he gets to take the last name of that guy who banished his father, and gets an arranged marriage with his daughter. And it's really, their culture is interesting so far. Uh, but it's all very much like, chess pieces. He's not. He's just trying. Everybody's trying to increase their own family name, their own, family crest. But there's another aspect to this. There's military training in here. Two characters I don't even remember the name of, honestly. One is her mother training students, and she trains her daughter, and then she ends up stabbing her daughter in the hand. And later on, down in the streets, Raw and the police, the Kryptonian police or whatever, and the higher ups, they come down there for a visit. They're like bullying people to get out of the way. There's this homeless man. He's kicking on the ground, and Segel, he interferes and he gets in a scuffle with this cop, and then he gets dragged off by this another cop who actually turns out to be the girl who was assaulted by her mother during the training or whatever, and they have a secret relationship, her and Segel. And so now she's finding out that he's promised to be married off to somebody else, and there's all this and that. There's this strange guy that's been hanging around, and cap and jeans and clothes, and he kind of runs into Segel, and Segel questions what the hell he's wearing, and this guy turns out to be Adam Strange from the comic books. And this guy's telling me he's here to prevent. He's here from the future, from Earth, to prevent a threat that's gonna wipe out Superman. And he gives him this thing that has to do with something his grandfather was doing, why he was banished from Krypton. And what I liked about it is he didn't keep this. The guy, well, first of all, let's say the guy Adam Strange, he disappears because he can only appear for limited amount of time, apparently. But so he takes this thing back to his parents. Segel does, and he tells them, you know, he doesn't try to keep it to himself or anything. He shares with his family. A big problem I have with shows like this, people often don't share with anybody. They try to keep everything a secret, thinking they're protecting other people when really they're making it worse. And so it was refreshing to see him not keep this hidden from them, even though after the brief conversation where it appears they're not being as honest as possible, uh, they try to keep that little diamond shaped Superman crest symbol thing or whatever, and tell him that he can't be caught with that on him because they'll be in trouble for having something that represents their former family crest, because they don't have uh, a place in Krypton in the upper city or whatever anymore. But he ends up stealing that back from his parents before he rushes off. Uh, he meets with that girl he's proposed to marry, and they go into this little place where this thing tells them basically what the combination of their DNA will mean for their child, what kind of life he'll have, who he'll be, what his strongest aspects will be. And I found that interesting because the two characters, they make a comment. The woman makes a comment about, oh, how romantic it is. Uh, she also makes another comment about how she can't believe women used to carry children in their wombs. And Segel makes an interesting comment himself about how I'm not sure how to word it because I don't remember exactly how he worded it, but it's about how, like, boring it is to not be surprised by anything your child's gonna do in his life, because this thing tells them who their child's gonna be, how he's gonna look, and everything. And that's pretty uninteresting. That I mean, it's interesting to see this kind of culture stuff. But from their perspective, it's like, wow, man, take out the surprise of everything, you know. But he also continues his affair with that other woman. They've been sleeping together and all that, and they're both. She tells him, Segel, that she's supposed to be married off like next week too. Yeah, so this is how their culture is. For most people, it's all about moving the little chess pieces around and very Game of Thrones style. But Kal-El takes that. I mean, not Kal-El. Segel. He takes that thing. Well, he gets in a run in by coming back home after curfew. He gets in a run in with the police and has to run for it. And he runs into his mother, who's there in a spaceship, and she kind of just takes him off to this secret place, this fortress of solitude. I thought that was pretty neat that they had a fortress of solitude in the snowy places of Krypton. But his mother showed him this place, and she told him all about why his grandfather was banished, because he tried to tell them about some threat that was going to come and that's been wiping out world by world, just going from one place to another. And he tried to present evidence to the council, and they didn't want to hear it. He tried to make it public, so they tried him for treason. And this whole science thing, it was considered illegal or whatever. So they're out here hiding out. They go back home and they get, confronted by the police. Segel hides and his mother's taken, considered for treason, because she's so worried that they're going to find her son, and because they found that piece on him before, and that they know that two people went out to this secret place that's forbidden, and they end up in big trouble, and the mother claims to be part of the terrorist group Black Zero, and she gets taken. And in her defense, when there's this whole trial going on, in her defense, Segel's gonna, tell them that he was with her because they're pressing her for who was really with her, and the father actually steps up and says he was with her, even though Segel tries to stop him. And then the mother of Segel's girlfriend ends up killing his father because he tried to save her. Uh, well, he pulled a gun and she killed him, and then the mother got killed trying to retaliate or something, and Kal-El just loses everybody. Not only does he lose his grandfather in this episode, dude, he loses both his parents uh, to the hands of his girlfriend's mother, and now now that relationship between his girlfriends is just pretty crippled. After he's like emotionally devastated by all this nonsense, he does have a brief scene with her telling her that they're done now, that there's no way that the relationship will ever work. Uh, it was he ends up running into Adam Strange again as he goes back out to the secret fortress of solitude, and they discuss stuff. He shows him this Superman cape and how it's slowly deteriorating, because it's like it's like an hourglass, and once that cape completely disappears, Superman's done for, and the world, everybody's gonna end up screwed, because Superman is this huge hero in the future. and he tells them about how they're going from planet to planet, how this secret thing is going from planet to planet, destroying planets and collecting all their information, and it actually ends with them revealing Brainiac as the threat who's going to be doing this, which goes hand in hand with who Brainiac is, and their version of Brainiac looks really incredible, really spot on bit of what I really wanted this to explore uncharted territory completely, since that's what they said they were going to do, and Smallville said they were going to do that. Gotham said they were going to do that, but nobody ever really does that, do they? But no, in terms of acting, quality, production, sets, music, I thought this was fairly decent, fairly good. I don't have a strong grip on who our main characters actually are, except for Segel and Adam Strange, since, a lot of the people who were important in this episode end up dead. But pretty devastating first episode for your main character. So I guess I give this a, a 7 out of 10. There wasn't anything wrong with it, but there wasn't anything really impressive or strong about it. Brainiac and the Kryptonian city looks nice. Brainiac looks awesome. I'm gonna watch a few more episodes, maybe the whole season. It depends on how good it is. I might try to review the whole thing. Uh, like, subscribe, check out my GoFundMe link. I'm not monetized. If you want to support my channel, that's a way to do it. There's also my PayPal link. Anything helps. Anything's greatly appreciated. Um, Stay awesome. Rock on.